welcome to Navigate Autism. I'm your host, Jane Lynn Britton. Today, I'm very excited to welcome back a guest, Dr. Ynge Ljung. Now, you may remember her. She joined me about a year ago when she came to tell us about a revolutionary invention she created, the Allergy Kit, an at-home allergy kit that has shown many positive results for children with autism. Well, today, she's back to tell us about a book that's hitting the stores on May 22nd. Ynge is an acupuncture physician and an expert at understanding allergies. And the name of her book is Finding Your Lost Child, Understanding Allergies, Nutrition, and Detox in Autism. Wow, right? Now, many years ago, children started coming to see Ynge. They were on the spectrum, some had autism, and some hadn't been diagnosed yet. But what she found is more and more of these children were coming to see her. And in her heart and her passion, her desire was to research holistic ways to help autism. And we are so grateful that she has done that and that she's going to tell us about some of that work tonight. So please welcome Ynge Ljung. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you.
I'm so happy to see you again. It feels like only yesterday, and probably because I think of you often when I use your allergy kit, and we'll be talking about that a little bit later. But first, I really want to talk a little bit more about your book and understand more about it. Now, you are an acupuncture physician. What inspired you to write a book about autism?
I started to treat allergies, and then all of a sudden these kids came that they were on the spectrum in one way or another, often ADD, ADHD, and then also little by little autistic children. And some were not, as you said, some were not diagnosed. And they all had allergies, and some of them had dramatic changes for the better after doing the kit or after being treated, because then I didn't have the kit. Mm-hmm. What happened was that most of the time, the families, they had at least one autistic child, maybe more, or they all had allergies. And specifically with the autistic children, it was difficult to bring them to the office because they had behavioral problems. I think now they probably know more about it, but at that time, it was looked upon them as if they were behaving badly. But that was not the problem. It was a reaction. It was an allergic reaction they had. So I treated one child with pretty severe autism. He was 5 years old, and he always had things going on. And sometimes I was treating him. He was running first because he would run around. His mother was holding on to him, and I was treating to his grandmother, who was the last one to hold on because he would not be still. So it was difficult. And often, unfortunately, many of these parents, it was too expensive or it took too much time, and they stopped. After a few treatments, they thought that they were better, and that was enough, but it was definitely not enough. And I started to make, different trials to see what I could put together and what I could develop for protocols so that people could do it on themselves, or mothers could do it on their children. And it took a few years, probably 6 years or so, until I finally had the product and I put it on the market.
Wow.
And the best thing is that they can treat themselves. You don't open the vials. I mean, you treat yourself. You don't take anything. You don't put it on the skin or inject it or anything or smell it. It's just a treatment, and you can use it for the whole family.
Well, I will tell you, I'm just like nodding my head as you speak, because I everything you're saying I've lived, and I really appreciate you as a therapist getting it right and understanding how challenging it is, and then using your heart and your passion to want to help those families and give them a tool. As a mom as well, I'm always looking for resources and information, but also tools that I can use, that I'm empowered to use so that I can help. Like you said, it's not just a one-time thing, it's a support process, right? So
Yes.
I really appreciate you dedicating 6 years, probably that's a long time of your life, to find something, and then you have this wonderful kit. Now, do you talk about the kit in your book, or now is that something a little
I
bit?
do also, yes, I do, of course. And but I also give a lot of tips that people maybe don't know. The book starts really with throwing out, going through your pantry and throwing out stuff.
That's perfect. We all need some help in that area.
And then I talk, of course, about the allergy elimination, and then about nutrition. And because there are so many things that many people don't know. I just spoke to one mother who called me the other day about the Allergy Kit. She has a child who is 8 years old, he has been diagnosed as autistic. And I suppose he's in a special class, but she is not in any kind of group or hasn't joined anything. And I don't know if she's married. I didn't get that far. But I see so often, or I saw, because now I don't work the same way anymore. But so many times that the families, they were so affected, and very often the marriages ended in divorce. And who was left to take care of the kid? The mother.
Right.
And it broke my heart. So that's why I've tried to figure out, tried, but I have researched what can make them better, and the traps that are out there. And for example, one thing with kids, autistic kids or on the spectrum, sometimes when they're little, they do not want to have clothes on. I don't think that's unusual. They want to run around naked, and it's very cute when they're 2, 3, 4 years maybe, but when they're 17, it's not that much fun. It can be a little bit disturbing. And who thinks about them being allergic to the fabric or the detergent or something in the clothes that they're reacting to? And that's the reason.
Absolutely. Like, until I met you and some other people doing something a little bit similar, but they're the in-office practice, not the at-home allergy kit. I was the same way. When you think allergies, you think environment, food, more and more. But you don't realize that you can be allergic to a person. Or,
yes,
like you were saying, the family, or it's definitely little things in the home. So I'm so glad that you are bringing that out in a way that we can all learn from it. Now, another question, why did you call it Finding Your Lost Child? I'm just curious.
I always felt as if they were lost. And I have another client who she started with the Allergy Kit about a year ago. And he was very violent, running after his parents with knives and scissors. And with the kit, he totally changed. I mean, he still has certain things, but the mother has been able to take a job. She could not. She has a full-time job, which she couldn't even take 2 hours. And she was an educator for kids with the problems. And one day he said to her, "Mommy, I feel as if I have been underground and now I'm coming out."
Wow.
And I get goosebumps every time I think about it. But that was the feeling I had about these kids, that they could not communicate. They don't know themselves what it is they think. And so that's why I think that lots of these kids, they come back. Some of them start talking and becoming like telling them, their mothers, that they love them, looking them in their eyes, things that sometimes they don't even think it's possible to happen.
I love that. And it's I'm going to say as simple as, I know you put a lot of work into it, so it doesn't seem as simple, but it's as simple as understanding the body is having an allergic reaction, and you have now a tool to help either remove or reduce the effect of that allergy, so that the body can show up in a way that's more comfortable.
Yeah. And maybe it doesn't happen for everybody, but even if it doesn't, every child has allergies and digestive problems. So even if they still would have autistic problems, they would feel better, and that way it makes them also easier to handle. It's easier for them when they feel better. I mean, like the banging, when they bang their heads, it's something they're trying to get out of, but they can't explain it.
Right.
I went to a meeting once, because it's very difficult to get into these circles. And I went to a school where they had a meeting about autistic children. And the speaker, she was talking about a girl who they had very good results with her. But every time she came on the bus, she started to bang her head on the window. She said, she only wants attention. I say, I don't think so. I think she's reacting to something in the bus. And that's why she's banging her head. So
that's a good point. I'm sorry to interrupt you. It just makes, I've had not exactly the same situation, but my son has a more difficult time on the bus. And I haven't thought about the allergy perspective. I do know the energy is different. It's loud. It's, they have to sit for an hour, stop and start. But an allergy. So what would you treat? What do you suggest treatment for?
For example, for that, you say, I didn't think about that with the buses, but of course it's loud. He might be noise sensitive. Some kids are touch sensitive, others are noise, and some are all of it. But I think that could be one reason. And also, who knows if it's vinyl or plastic or something on the seats, if the carpets, if they wash them with something. I mean, it can be a lot of things.
So you're saying that your allergy kit for autism can help the children overcome some of those allergies?
Yes, the autism kit is just the beginning, though.
Okay.
Because they are allergic to so many things. But it's a way to see if it works for them, if they feel better. And then my goal is really to have a course, like maybe 8 weeks or so, where with Zoom calls and giving them menus that fit this specific kid, because there is a form to fill out, and then they can get a menu where they can avoid these things until they have been cleared for them, and then follow up and change the menu. Because very often, excuse me, mothers say, when I say, well, he can't have this and this, no milk or no wheat and no sugar and blah, blah. And they said, there's nothing more to eat. But there is plenty.
There's a lot more, right? Well, you're raising a good point. And first of all, I think it's fantastic that you have the background to connect all those dots. So there's the allergies, there's nutrition. Talk to us a little bit about the role of nutrition in our kids.
Well, that is exactly it. I think if parents don't know too much about nutrition, sometimes they will take their kids out for a pizza, and then the autistic child has a meltdown. and they don't understand it's the wheat. So if they know things that they should avoid, I think they should avoid wheat forever. I mean, every person should avoid wheat because it's inflammatory, but it's also very toxic since it's sprayed with glyphosate, 2 days before they harvest the wheat. So that's not good. And their digestion get much, much better if they can stay away from wheat and get rid of their inflammation. That is so important.
Right. I completely agree. It's very hard. And I'm going to go back to the fact that you give menus, which is really nice. But we went gluten-free, and it was very, very difficult to make that shift. But once we did, we saw a change. Thankfully, now this was like 13 years ago, and it was not so easy to find in the store or restaurants gluten-free options, but now there are.
There are more, yes. And many, I totally understand it's difficult to stay away from wheat since it is in everything. And the American diet, it is wheat. It is pizza and pasta and bread, hamburgers with bread, all these things that they crave.
Exactly.
But it is also the cause of constipation, for example. Many of these kids are constipated, and that makes them absorb more toxins. I mean, also the allergies, every time the liver thinks that something that you eat is toxic, the liver has to work overtime to detox it. So and I understand it's hard, specifically since the kid will scream and scream and scream. I'm sure you know that.
Yes. Well, yes. And I've learned my secret to handling that, I'll share that for everyone, is just being okay and with whatever happens, and actually just getting behind whatever change I'm making, getting behind it 100%, making it as fun as possible and believing it, and being okay with the meltdown, because once I take my energy and emotion out of it, usually my son has like no power. He's like, no reason to scream anymore, mom doesn't care. But
yeah.
but not just that, it's like, as a I can be a role model for him and say, this is really good for you, it's good for me, and we're going to do it. And then eventually he comes around.
And that is exactly the point that, I mean, I admire you for being able to take out your own emotions. I think that is the hardest thing for a mother. They often end up giving in.
It is hard, and it's especially hard when you painted the picture earlier. We're tired, we're working hard. Often there are a lot of single mothers now raising these children, and our emotions are so attached to their health and their well-being. And so it's hard to be strong like that. But baby steps and not judging when we're not strong is important, but just doing our best and saying this is the right thing for us. And also, I love that you said, go to the pantry. I think the book is going to be very helpful. Take things out, because if there's not those items in the house, then they can't scream and cry for it.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
Having healthier options and having a guide to do it. So I think your book is going to be really helpful.
And it's a short, it's an easy read. So, and many tips, a lot of people don't like to read, or they don't have time to read. I don't know.
Probably both these days. But tips are very helpful. Those tools. And I know for myself, sometimes I'll read a chapter and I'll just digest. And if the tips are, I can give them a try. And then once I have that handled, or that strength around those tips, I'll go to the next thing. Yeah. And so it definitely will be a huge resource for me and for many other people. Now, Ynge, if you don't mind, talk a little bit about the detox. But I understand, yes, I understand kind of what it is, but how is it in our kids, and how do we do that with our kids with autism?
There are different things. First of all, the Allergy Kit is, in a way, detox, because it when you eliminate the allergies, the body doesn't fight that and doesn't have to eliminate toxins. Mm-hmm. But there are other things, and one of the best things is I forgot what it's called. a major difference. It's called AMD. It's foot bath with both positive and negative ions. So it's not, because there are different kind of foot baths. This is not maybe so cheap, but you can rent it. And this detox has had incredible results. For example, with little older kids, teenagers, where they have really had big difficulties, they didn't develop. I mean, there was not so much around. More and more is coming out.
Right.
But there are kids who didn't speak when they were 12, 13, 14 years old, and all of a sudden they do. I mean, really, really dramatic changes.
And you're saying that could be from a large part from the detox.
That is from the detox, because you put your feet in, and it's these ions that are being exchanged. The water changes color, so you can see which organ it's working on. But it is amazing. Really, really amazing.
It sounds amazing. So that is amazing. And you did mention it's fairly expensive, but maybe you could rent these units. Is there any other like over the counter kind of thing, or what about Epsom salt bath? I mean, we use that a lot with my son.
Of course, that, and you can use clay baths. That also helps. So baths are very good, and I think often they like them. The kids like the baths. So yeah. It is to find something that they like. I read about the foot bath, that some kids that were seriously autistic, they would go to the closet and pull out the foot bath when they kind of felt that it was time to have it. So if you can do things that they like. And of course, with there is also different detox with essential oils, which is easy to use, and they like the oils. Right. So that's another thing to do. And of course, I mean, the best thing is the nutrition. That take out all juices, fruit juices, because they have too much sugar. When you drink a fruit juice, it goes directly out in your skin. If you eat the fruit, it's a slow release. So that is very, very important to do, really. And
one of the hardest things to do, isn't it?
Yes, because they are used to it. Yeah. And they want the sugar, yes. And I know it is but with the kit also, the second treatment is for sugar. And sometimes you have to do it several times, but once it has so-called stuck, when the treatment has stuck, then they don't have sugar cravings. The sugar cravings are much, much less. So it's a big help for the cravings with the kit.
Yes. And I want to talk just a minute about the allergy kit, because we use it with William. And like I said, I love the whole process of allergy elimination. We've done it for years and years and years. And I know one of the reasons you developed the kit the way you did was so that it would be easier for many reasons. But when we would go to see a therapist, it would take 25 hours for that his body to clear of that allergy. And your kit, and the way you recommend doing it at night, they're cleared while they sleep. And so it makes life so much easier. When we did sugar detox when he was 4, and you have to take sugar out of the diet for 25 hours. That was impossible. So I want to thank you again for creating something that's helpful but practical.
Exactly. No, that I know. I remember it. I mean, it's almost impossible. Certain things is impossible to stay away from. Vitamin C, how do you stay away from that for 25 hours?
Yes.
How do you stay away from that for 25 hours? I mean,
it's in everything. These things are a part of our lives, right? So you've talked and shared so much, and we're starting to run out of time. I know that there's more information on your website, allergykit.com, so excited about your book. Is there anything in particular that we want to share with the audience about the book? Brings together, again, allergies, nutrition, detox to help our children.
Yeah, that is practically it. It's easy to read, and I think you can get. It's not only for autism. I mean, also for anybody on the spectrum. They all have more or less the same problems. And for yourself, for anybody, to eat healthier. I mean, is it 1 in 3 who is diabetic or pre-diabetic? This is reversible.
That's what's so beautiful, right? Is that we don't realize that some of these chronic diseases that we think are just going to be, the journey of the rest of our life can be changed.
Absolutely.
And like you said, I mean, I'm so appreciative that you were inspired to help kids with autism and their families. And the great thing is it helps everybody, right? Because it's really about being healthy and supporting your body so that it can heal.
Yeah, because it is not a miracle or magic bullet. It is a lifestyle, and everybody in the family eliminating their allergies, following a good menu, they will get healthier. And I think a lot of people don't even realize that they don't feel 100%. They are so used to feel like they do.
I think you're right. But once they start to feel better, that's the motivation to continue.
Yes, exactly.
So Ynge, this is exciting. So May 22nd, your book, Finding Your Lost Child, Understanding Allergies, Nutrition, and Detox for Autism. Definitely, I think everyone should get their own copy. It's going to be like a resource book to really help everybody clean out their pantry, change their lifestyle to a healthy lifestyle that will help themselves and their children. And then we'll learn more about the Allergy Kit, which we didn't go into a whole lot of detail about all the different components, but they can watch our prior show as well as go on your website to learn.
And it's all in the book anyway.
Fantastic, even better. So definitely pick up a copy of the book. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining me again. It's been a pleasure, and I can't wait for you to come back and tell us your new next best thing.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us. I am so excited that you were able to hear more about things that we can do as parents to help our children and to help ourselves. And I look forward to seeing you next time on Navigate Autism with Ynge Ljung.